everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm excited to talk about homeopathic immune support and how to eat intuitively when you are sick. So we'll talk tonight about why do we get sick, what is homeopathy, stages of illness and remedies to support. So I'll talk about when at the very beginning of not feeling well, when you maybe are having cold or flu symptoms, and then remedies to consider at the end, just if you have some lingering fatigue or symptoms. What is a dose? What is intuitive eating? Foods to support yourself when you're not feeling well, and then how to have a self-care nourishment plan. So why do we get sick? You know, it never comes at a great time. It's always, I know for me, it's like, I don't want to get sick. It's like the last thing that I want to happen. And I do think that for me, it's my body's way of like getting my attention. Like I often say with any sort of, physical, mental, emotional symptom, it's our body's way of saying, hello, you need to pay attention to me. So getting sick, I think there are like little cues that lead up to it, maybe that little scratchy throat, or you're clearing your throat, or you're a little more tired than you usually are, but you kind of push through and ignore it because you have commitments and different things you need to get done. But I do think, getting sick, it helps our immune system kind of get a little bit stronger, gives it a little bit of a workout. But it also, like, I don't know, when I get sick, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll stop. I get it. I got the memo. It's time for me to rest. So it is something that it isn't always a bad thing. It's never convenient, but it is something that, our bodies are trying to have communicate with us. Because our bodies want balance. We want that homeostasis of enough rest, enough sunlight, enough activity of the brain, activity of the body, and nourishment, all of those things. And so it's always, playing this seesaw, teeter-totter thing of trying to find that middle ground. And then does change of season make us sick? So we know that different viruses can grow stronger when the outside temperatures dip. Breathing in cold air with the mouth and nose may weaken our ability to fight illness. Or as we bundle up because it's getting more chilly, we lose, that exposure to the vitamin D from the sun. Or indoor air can help also promote the spread of the flu virus. So getting outside, assuming that it's not super freezing temperatures, and exposing your skin to the sun for 10 to 15 minutes is a great way to activate the body's vitamin D production. Also using a cool mist humidifier to add some moisture back into the air can also help as well. And then there's homeopathy, which can help give us that support we need. So homeopathy is a gentle and natural healing system that works with the body to relieve symptoms. It can help strengthen the body when it's having symptoms, and it works best when the remedy picture matches the symptoms. So I really highlighted the word symptoms right here because that's really what drives me and you to find the remedy that's going to match. We can have diagnoses, we can have information like that, but those symptoms are going to help me to match what remedy you need in the moment for whatever illness may or may not be going on. So at the beginning of illness, the beginning stage, when nothing really clear symptoms are present, I always suggest a dose of your constitutional remedy. So check with your homeopath first. And then if you don't have a constitutional remedy, you can go straight into Aconitum napellus. I really like this remedy at the sudden onset, like the first 12 to 24 hours of an illness, whether it be a little bit of a scratchy throat or even a cough, or you're feeling a little fatigued, especially if you've been outdoors in cool wind. It's a great remedy to start with, a dose of Aconitum napellus. Also, ferrum phos, cell salt number 4, is a great remedy to use, again, to help in those beginning stages when there's no clear symptoms present. And you can just follow the dosing instructions on the bottle for each of the remedies. Now, when we move into actually having a cold, here are some symptoms and remedies that could be helpful. So Allium cepa, you're going to have lots of watery nasal discharge. I've heard people, anytime anyone says, oh, my nose is running like a faucet, I'm like, I know the remedy, it's alien cepa. And there's also this burning or discharge that irritates the nose or upper lip. So the eyes and nose may run like as if you know, when you cut an onion, how you kind of get discharge, it'd be similar to that. The alien cepa is made from red onion. I don't know if I said that. And then remedies have, we call them, if it's better or worse. So it can really point me in the right direction of a remedy when I'm trying to decide between two different remedies. So with alien cepa, symptoms are better in the cool open air, with bathing, with motion, and cold room. They're worse in the warm room, with damp weather, and in the evening time. Another cold symptom to consider is calibicromium. Here you've got this thick, ropey nasal discharge. It can be helpful with congestion, primarily in the sinuses, and it's really great for sinus headaches. So the keynote that really usually makes me think of this remedy is that thick sinus discharge. They're better with heat, motion, and pressure, worse cold, damp, in the morning time. Nux vomica is another remedy to consider for colds, and it usually is necessary when the cold comes on after overwork. So you've had a deadline, or you know how you work, and then it's a vacation and everybody gets a cold. And so that's a time when maybe nux vomica could be helpful, because you've been going, and then the body stops and it's like, oh, I can rest. And the nux vomica may help. You should rest, and you can take nux vomica to just help with some of the symptoms as well. So the cold comes on, also could come on after indulgence from rich foods or alcohol. There's kind of like a sniffly symptoms with nux vomica. Temperament wise, they're irritable, impatient, kind of that type A personality. And what I notice the most is, and I can get like this too, is being sick is, I can't be productive. I can't get my stuff done. I'm so mad. I'm so like, this is not convenient. And that's usually, I'll be like, I think it's time for a dose of nux vomica. They're better with rest, hot drinks, strong pressure, and after dinner. Worse in the early morning, cold, open air. And then coffee and stimulants, coffee and other stimulants just really don't make them feel good. They will go to them because they're trying to like keep going and get their stuff done, but it really does make them worse in the end. Pulsatilla, you will know pulsatilla when you see it, and you won't forget this one. So it's thick green, kind of a yellow pudding-like discharge. It doesn't have to be all those colors, but really the consistency of that pudding-like discharge is really keynote for pulsatilla. The person has little thirst. They're better outdoors in fresh air. They love being with others, and they want attention from others. So a lot of times when I'm working with families, you know, mom or dad will call and say, oh, they're just like Velcro baby. They're so clingy and they're so whiny, and they've got this snotty nose that's just coming out. And I'll think, oh, I think it's time for pulsatilla. Also the earache may be involved as well with the cold. And that's another thing that pulsatilla can help with. Better outside and worse with heat and rich foods. Then as we move into more flu-like symptoms, so this can be like a gastrointestinal flu with vomiting and diarrhea, or upper respiratory flu symptoms as well. So with arsenicum, burning pains anywhere in the body. They can have diarrhea and vomiting at the same time. There's a lot of restlessness and chilliness. They're better with heat, walking, and company. Worse with cold, exertion, and drinking liquids. Bryonia, so most symptoms are made worse by movement. They have a hard, dry cough, again, worse with movement. They have a great thirst for large amounts of cold drinks. The person is very irritable and wants to be left alone. And they feel better with pressure and worse with motion. Eupatorium perfilatum, that's a mouthful. Chills followed by fever and sweating. The keynote, and I had early on in my homeopathy studies, this flu was going around, and it was like, I remember reading about this remedy thinking, that sounds awful. It really was, where my bones felt like they were broken. So there's just, the muscle aches are so intense. Even like my eyeballs felt really sore. So people who typically need this remedy are thirsty for cold water and feel like their bones are broken. So I remember taking a dose of this and being like, wow, that was exactly what I needed. Better sweating, worse least motion movement. And then gelsemium, another exhausting flu. Feels like you've been run over by a truck. So that's another, when someone says their nose is running like a faucet or they've been run over by a truck, I'm like, I know these remedies. So gelsemium, they're kind of dull and dizzy and droopy. They have very little thirst, have muscle aches throughout the body. So just not a good time when you're needing gelsemium. Better urinating, open air and sweating, and worse with motion. And then the last stage, so let's say we've gotten through the cold or the flu, but there's still a few like minor lingering symptoms. Again, you may want to consider a dose of your constitutional remedy or phosphoricum acidum. Phosphoricum acidum can be really helpful for that lingering fatigue, whether it's physical fatigue or even kind of your mental brain fog fatigue. It can help even kind of feeling low spirited or depleted and not able to regain your energy. This could be a good remedy to consider, along with calc sulf, which is cell salt number 3, which can kind of help clear out some of those final discharges if you're still having them. And then know when to say when. So, if you aren't feeling, if you've tried a couple remedies and it's still not helping, knowing when it's time to, seek medical care and or professional homeopathy care too. So usually if I can't help someone after, depending on what the symptoms are, but after a couple of days, I'll be like, it's time to go to the doctor and get a diagnosis and let's see, maybe your body needs some extra support with whatever illness this is, or I can't see chest x-rays. So like, go get an x-ray or, if there's something major going on. The remedies are definitely supportive and can support you through stuff. But if there is something, beyond, just to know when to get help, like Kermit here needs some help, I think. Typically, I'll say I like when someone has an acute, is what I call this, right? When they have a short-term illness, I'll usually give them 1 or 2 remedies, like try this one first, give it 3 doses. If you don't see any change, then move on to number 2. That way they kind of have a plan, especially if they call me on a Friday. I'm like, okay, let's get you through the weekend so we can talk again on Monday to see how you're feeling. But yeah, I would say, dosing is really based on the severity of the symptoms. So typically if someone has, the flu or a cold, I'll say, like kind of like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like do a dose every, 3 to 4 hours. And then if you're not feeling better after 24 hours, let's consider a second remedy. Or if you're feeling worse, then stop that remedy, let me know, and we can work up something else. The idea is, and if we have time, I'll share a case with you, but the idea is to really make sure that is the picture changing. So, we started off with the bryonia, but now it's looking like a different remedy, but if you still take the bryonia, it's not going to do much, or it may relieve a little bit of it. But sometimes we need to, especially in acute symptoms, you need to keep kind of tabs on the case because it can change. It can change a lot depending on what virus you may have. If after 3 doses there's no improvement, change to a different remedy or contact, a healthcare professional. And if the remedy is working, you don't necessarily have to dose in that like prescriptive manner. You can say, well, I took one at 10 a.m. I'm due to take one again at 2, but I feel fine. So you could spread it out to like bedtime or whatever it is. And that's, the beauty of homeopathy. The dosing can be very customized as well, but it's also like that tricky part, like, well, do I need a dose or do I not need a dose? So a lot of times if someone's feeling well, I say, don't dose again until you kind of regress or backstep, then take a dose. So that's kind of one strategy. So this was back in 2021, a 77-year-old male. He'd been sick since New Year's Eve and then called me on January 14th. And his sickness started with a sore throat. So the symptoms he gave me were lots of sinus pressure, congestion in the nose, had a lingering cough with fever at times, The cough is deep in the chest, rattling sound. Warm drinks made the cough worse. Now, I presented this to some homeopaths, so that you may not have all the pieces and parts here, but I'll just show you when and there's many different software types, but this is just one that I use. So when you're giving me symptoms, this is what I do. I take them and I put them into a software to try to see, it kind of narrows down my reading list, right? So that we had the inflammation of the sinuses, complaints of the sinus. It was the frontal sinus. There was obstruction, but there was also discharge. The pain was pressing in the nose. He had chapped lips, thin discharge. His ears were stopped up. So you can kind of see what I did here. This is a repertorization. And then the cough, I really tried to get kind of the key symptoms of the cough. And he felt better outside in the sun, was better with rest. So we have up here are the remedies that have all of these symptoms to some degree or another. So phosphorus is this first one. That calibicromium, which I talked about with the thick discharge, was another one. Now, these don't necessarily mean like, okay, I'm going to give him phosphorus first, then calibic, then sulfur, then silica. Like, it's not like you go down the line. It's like, for me, I look at this as like, okay, all right, I can see some of the things here. Let me go do some more reading to figure out what to do. So I narrowed it down to between phosphorus, calibicromium, and silica, which I know we didn't talk much about silica, but that was another one I thought of. The one I ended up giving was the calibicromium because of the discharge was so ropey and thick. And he had the sinus headache. So that's what led me to that one. Later, we followed up the next day. And a lot of times with acutes, it's sometimes I'll say, we'll talk in the morning and we'll talk in the evening, just because I want to see, are we making progress? How are you feeling? It's no fun to be sick. So I want to make sure that, what we're doing. Sometimes I need more time on a remedy to give any sort of assessment, but other times I want to know, like, are we moving in the right direction before I go to bed? So he woke up with no headache, no sinus pressure. The cough was still present, but there was more clearing of stuff out. So that movement of the mucus was a really good sign for me that, like, okay, I think we're on the right track. No longer having a runny nose. He has increased energy. His sleep was about the same and the ears were not plugged anymore. So we made some progress. It was just in the next day, right? He had a lot less pain in his head, etc. But I still didn't like that this cough was still there. So I then went back and looked at, this is the same repertorization. I just went back to kind of my reading list to say, okay, we've kind of cleared up the sinus stuff, and phosphorus is a really big cough remedy. So I went back and gave him some phosphorus just to help with the lung support and to help that deep rattly cough. Next day, I think that really made a difference, coughing less, feeling more energy. So aside from the congestion of the nose being relieved, that energy, the change in energy also tells me that we're in conversation with his vital force, right? The remedy is working not just on the superficial level with clearing the congestion, but his energy is also increased, which, when I first talked to him, he just didn't want to move at all. So that's a little case I had. I don't know if you guys have any questions, but that was just something I wanted to show as a way that you can start off in an acute with one remedy, and then you may turn left and go to another one. If his sinuses had, gone back to being more congestion, I may have gone back to calibic. It would just kind of had depended on how his symptoms, how they played out. Okay, any questions on that? Then I'm going to talk a little bit about intuitive eating and how to support ourselves with our eating when we may get sick. So intuitive eating has been around for a long time, and just the concept of it is really that getting back to ourselves in terms of tuning into what our bodies need in a day, in a week, just in the moment. And it does seem to be trending now more on social media. And I think there's different kind of ways to think about it, but I was trained by the original intuitive eating people, Evelyn and Elise. So I follow what's in their book. Is it for everybody? Yes and no. If somebody's really having a lot of disordered eating in terms of underbody weight or bulimia, excessive exercise, or had any sort of eating disorder treatment, it may not be for you now. And I'm definitely not the practitioner for you. If you want to do an intuitive eating, you would probably want to go to a nutritionist or somebody who's more skilled in the eating disorder realm. But if you are just kind of sick of dieting, or really if food takes up kind of a lot of your time in your head and you're wanting some freedom around that, then it's a really great way to just see food and your body differently. Quickly, the principles, the first one is reject the diet mentality. 2 is honor your hunger. Make peace with food is number 3. Challenge the food police, which we're doing an intuitive workbook study. We started back in September and we're on week 4. So we're challenging the food police this week. Discover the satisfaction factor. Feel your fullness, which I think is just as important as honoring our hunger, is knowing I think I'm full. And I think I'm like getting little baby sensations of fullness. I'm not like overly full, but I'm starting to get full. Why don't I stop and like check in? Coping with your emotions with kindness instead of food, respecting your body, so body image, and just honoring, just your genetic makeup. Movement, feel the difference, and then honor your health with gentle nutrition is the last one. So foods to support, these are not revolutionary. I'm sure you've all heard of all of these foods. In terms of just rich in vitamin C. So your citrus, kiwi, bell peppers, broccoli, papaya, foods rich in vitamin A, carrots, kale, sweet potato, butternut squash. And then when you're sick, I mean, it is one of those times when I know my son's like, I want the lemon honey tea. Like he has a whole list. He wants the chicken soup, the lemon ginger tea. He just has a whole, he wants avocado toast, which I'm like, okay, all right, I'll get the list of things. But, so just to try. But sometimes, like we were talking about, some of the remedies are more on the cold side. So like someone needing phosphorus might want a big ice cold glass of water, so it really depends. But generally the warming is helpful for your body. And then I just wanted to briefly talk about this self-care nourishment plan in terms of, maybe when you're feeling well, so like now, assuming we're all feeling good, reflecting on meals that are easy for you to prepare. I put that twice because it was so important. Also, or reflecting on snacks that are easy for you to prepare. And then remembering that self-compassion piece that we talk a lot about in our intuitive eating class is just one meal will not make or break your health. So I think when we're sick, it's a really good time to just slow down and go get quiet and ask your body, like, what do I really want right now? I think, if you look at when children are ill, they will usually lose their appetite when they're sick, right? They're not usually very hungry. I can always tell with my son, he's starting to get hungry again because he wants hamburger or whatever. Like there's little cues, whereas before it's just like he wants nothing. So really honoring our hunger, honoring, what our bodies are needing in the moment. And also our energy level, right? Like we're usually not having lots of extra energy when we don't feel good. So having things on hand like that. So I'll share this with you guys as a PDF if you want to fill it out or just have it nearby, just as ideas, like having saltine crackers or chicken. Like the other day, he wanted, I just really want chicken soup, Mom. And or something. And I was like, I had ramen, I had some broth, and I had some chicken that I like the pre-made chicken from the store. And I was like, and carrots. And I thought, okay, I can pull this together. I'd put it in a pot. And he was like, that was just so good. And I was like, yes. Like normally I would, want the full on, like start from scratch chicken. But I just had everything and I put it in a pot and it was great. But, I was lucky I had all that on hand, but yeah, just kind of thinking ahead for when we don't feel good. If you want more information, I will be doing another free webinar the first Monday of November. I'm still deciding on the topic, but it might be something about, I don't even know. I don't want to make it up yet, but something about supporting ourselves like emotionally during the holidays. So like Mind Your Mind and remedies that help support our emotions. And then in December, I'm doing one as well about something else to be determined. So thank you all for coming. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any. And I will send out the recording. I'll probably re-record the first few slides and then send it out for you guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate